Welcome back, friends. In this video we're going to learn how to use the lead function, and you will see that it functions similarly to the lag function. And again, I'm going to show you a somewhat realistic example so it's more valuable to all of us. So go into AdventureWorks, and we're going to again work with the sales order detail table, and we're going to use the lead function, and we'll use it with summarized data so we can compare sales, for example, from order to order. Okay? Comparing sales from order to order. That might be a useful thing to try to do, perhaps looking for a pattern, seeing why sales are strong, why they are weak, and so on. Obviously, this is just a very small, tiny step in that direction. Let's take a look here. I'm going to say with, and we begin this time by making a common table expression. I want to show you one more example. So with sales summary. So with, put that down, then give it a meaningful name like sales summary so its purpose is clear. And because we'll be here basically summarizing sales from the sales order detail, I'm going to put in these two fields in the list here in the header. Sales order ID and then total sales. And then and then lastly the parentheses as we've done before. So nothing new there. And as define the body. At this point, here's a simple assignment really. Summarize the line total, right? What I mean by summarize, to be more specific, is sum. Like this, sum the line total by the order ID within the parentheses here. So please pause the video, give that a shot to complete the body of the common table expression. Let's go to the solutions. I'm going to say select and put the from first. So from sales order details so we can find the columns correctly. All right. So select sales order ID and then sum. So sum the line total like that as total sales. That's it. And because we want to do this by the order IDs, let's add the group by at the bottom. So I'll say here group by sales order ID. So this is a basic summary query here. You run that, it summarizes by the sales order ID, tells you the line total. All right, so you've seen that before. Let's move on now onto something new. And what we are going to do is we've got this common table expression, and remember this basically functions as a temporary results set. So instead of querying the table, you can just query this instead, and it's source code that you may want to use and reuse. So let's take a look here at the action. I'm going to say select and then sales order ID, and again let me put the from sales summary down so the column names can be resolved or found correctly immediately. So sales order ID will take that. And of course, if you just run this in this current form, stage by stage, hit execute, doesn't help you much. You need to include everything, just as a reminder. So highlight it all, give it an execution here. Look at the results, and all we have is the sales order ID. So now we need to place some additional columns, obviously, with these things. Their purpose is more obvious. I'm going to push this up a little bit, like that. And the first thing that I'm going to do is take the line total and show it formatted as currency. So I will say format, and then the total sales. Remember the field names that I type here in this query outside the CTE, outside the common table expression, they have the same names as the ones that define the header of the CTE up there, okay? Keep that in mind. So I'm going to type that next. All right, separate the field list with commas. All right, so again, highlight everything. For me, that's a hard habit to establish for some reason. Highlight everything, give it a go, and you've got the column name, and you've got the sales order ID. So we're getting some useful output here. Remember, this means that sales order ID 43659 has a total of that value on it. So the next stage, let's continue. I'm going to put a comma in here. And now we're going to use the lead function. So take a look. What does the lead function allow us to do? Perhaps what we want to do and the output is less motivated. I've got 20,000 something, then I've got about 1,300 down below. So maybe I want to take the 1,300 and place it next to the 20,000 so I can compare the two. Or maybe I want to take the 32,7268 and so on. I want to place it next to the 1294 because I want to compare the two with subtraction. Or maybe division as an example, you see? Any one of those operations and so on. So what we are going to do is the opposite of what we did with the lag function. The lead one allows you to take a value that follows, so for example, this quantity, the sales amount in record 2, and you can place it next to the sales amount in record 1. You can take the 420 in that cell and place it next to the 28,000. And the reason obviously is that then you can compare them mathematically, compare the results, that is. Maybe you can subtract them, maybe you can divide them to compare what the ratio is and so on. So that is what we are going to do now. I'm going to zoom out here a little bit so everything fits better. I hope you can still see the code. So I'm going to format this total sales. I've done that. I've got the sales order ID selected, and now I'm going to go with this. I'm going to say lead total sales, like that. And this thing here, to operate just like the lag function, needs an order by. So I'm going to say here, take a look. I'm going to say over and then order by sales order ID. So before we do anything else, let's take this one line at a time. Select the sales order ID, format the total sales as currency, and now you're going to lead the total sales by the order ID. So what does that mean? Take a look. I'm going to take this and give it an execution, hit execute. And just take a look at the output for a second here, down below. So what do we have? Well, we've got the sales order ID, we've got the current value of about 20,500. And next to it, we've placed 1294, which is essentially the total from the next order. Now look very carefully. You've got the 12, or about the 1,300 here, and next to it, you have placed the amount from the order that follows it, you see? So I hope you see the purpose of what we've done so far, what we're doing here, how we're combining these. And of course, now that you have them adjacent to each other, like these values, then we can operate on them mathematically. But before I do that, there's one obvious problem here, so to speak, that we are giving these things column names, and we need to so that they're more clear. So first of all, the total sales will call current amount. By current, I mean the row we are located in. So the lead relative to the current row would be the next row. Okay, so I'm going to say here as next amount, like that. All right, let's give it a go, highlight everything, execute, look down below. All right, and I've got the current amount and I've got the next amount. So remember, like if I select row 2, the current amount is 1294, so the next amount would be the 32,726. If I select row 6, the current amount would be 24,000 about and a half, and the value after it would be the next amount. That's what current means and next means in this context, okay? All right, I hope that's clear. And at the next stage here, we're going to find the difference of the two. So I'm going to add one more line. I'm going to type this time total sales, and I'll subtract from that as follows, just to show you that you can use the lead function just like the lag functions and all kinds of calculations. I'm going to take basically this line and just paste it down below. So Control C and then Control V down below. And the question is, how would we alias that? If you pause the video for 5-10 seconds, how would we alias that so that it's meaningful in the context of our example? All right, so as you might imagine, as an example, we can alias this as the difference, right? It's the difference between the two amounts. The total sales and the sales following on the next order. So highlight everything and give it an execution. All right, let's take a look down below what's happening here. and take a look here. So if you on your calculator take 20,565 and you subtract from it 1294.25, you will see that's a difference of about 19,271 with some numbers after the decimal point. And clearly the next amount in the difference should also be formatted nicely so they look like currency. I'll leave that to you as an exercise. It's routine by this point, I think. And so if you take 32,726.48 and you subtract from it 28,832.53, that should give you a difference of about that value right there. Now remember, because we have the next amount column, we take, for example, 1294 and you subtract from it 32,726, that gives a value of negative 31,432, about. If you take 714 and you subtract from it 6,122, if you do that on your calculator, you'll get a difference of about negative 5407 with some numbers after the decimal point. That's what this is doing for us, okay? Or you can form the ratio between the two if you want to compare them that way. That shouldn't be anything too difficult. So just stick in a division symbol, and obviously then you would have to rename the alias to something different and more meaningful. I'll leave it at subtraction though. And this is all of the code. Thank you so much, friends, and I'll see you in the next one.